All right, going from one great guest to another. Her camera's a little. She's cut in half on me. She's still cut in half on me. Perfect. Much better. How you doing, Sarah? You doing all right?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Apologies for getting to you a bit late. My question was it went long in regards
It's
to
okay.
answering the question. Yeah, I'm sorry. But thank you for joining me. Sarah Bils, she is former U.S. Navy veteran and current editor for DD Geopolitics, and is a really good friend of the show. And I always appreciate my conversations with her, wherever those conversations go. What the hell is happening in Thailand? And I was a little off kilter this morning. Well, it's not this morning, I guess it's evening for me. I dozed off just before the show, and it just discombobulates you. And
Yes.
one of the first few things that I see is, what is the name of the place? It's not Indonesia. It's Cambodia and Thailand fighting, effectively at war, where Cambodia was launching airstrikes against Thailand. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell? What just happened? From my understanding, somebody stepped on it. Please explain it. DNG Politics covered it. I'm going to let you explain it. It's supposed to be trying to dig into it.
Sure. This is a centuries-old border dispute between Thailand and Cambodia. It's funny because, when I first came across it, it was like a couple months ago, and I was like, what are these two fighting? It was back in May. What are these two fighting about? And it's literally just another iteration of the West drawing borders where they have no business drawing borders. That's exactly what happened. So obviously the French drew the borders down in that area of Southeast Asia, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam. And the way that they drew the border for Thailand and Cambodia is they included these temples, these ancient, centuries-old, very revered Buddhist temples. They're included in the Cambodian and inside of their borders, but it's so close to the Thai border that Thailand has started to encroach on these things. Thailand is a Western proxy. They're getting warmer relations with China. But they're not a Chinese ally. They are very firmly in the Israel, United States, South Korea, Japan camp. And Cambodia is in the Russia, China, DPRK camp. So it's just another iteration of this same thing, though it's not really at the point where it is affecting anything outside of that very specific area. And it doesn't have too much potential to get insane. But yeah, it's just another iteration of that. So what had happened was, I believe a Thai soldier stepped on a landmine, which then resulted in reaction to that explosion. And then people started attacking on both sides. Last night for me, this morning for them, Cambodia was going crazy. Yes. And then the the Thai planes actually took off and scrambled. And they actually, the F-16s, I think, struck some targets.
They're doing airstrikes.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are like crawling around trying to avoid getting hit.
I couldn't believe how fast we got to like that point.
That's my point. And you're saying it's not crazy. It's like this is escalated, like bam, like somebody steps on a landmine and then immediately they're airstrikes.
And it's not even like a non-state militias or anything. These are the state militaries, and the states are like, we're going to war. And at least it's not. It's funny because Clash of Civilizations says, once the wars of natural resources and political ideology fade away, everybody's going to start fighting wars of civilization. And they are. This is another war of civilization. They're fighting over ancient Buddhist temples.
Be explicit. What do you mean by war of civilization?
Well, look, Samuel Huntington, read it, Clash of Civilization. He talks about how the wars these days will be based on civilizations, which means divided amongst ethnic lines, religious lines, nationalities. So we do see that. We're not fighting over natural resources in Israel, Palestine. We're not fighting over natural resources and not really in Ukraine, Russia. They're not fighting over natural resources in Thailand, Cambodia. There's some, but not consequential anything. These people are fighting over ethnic struggles, age-old, these sort of nationalistic wars. That's what this is. This is another one of that. I mean, Taiwan will be the same thing. Yes, it's natural resources in the sense of geography, but this is another ethnic sort of clash.
I so disagree with that. I so disagree with that. Maybe this is my Star Trek, thing coming out of me at this moment that just bristles at it. But they are fighting over a colonial line that was drawn where they have these kind of religious icons that they want to maintain.
That's that's a clash of civilization. According to Huntington, it's a fault line, yes.
And in Taiwan, again, would Taiwan be willing? But that's not ethnic. They're Chinese.
Okay. Are they Taiwanese or are they Chinese?
They're Chinese. For all intents and purposes. What do you mean to me?
Not to everyone.
They can define.
Have you ever read Clash of Civilizations? I suggest you read it or reread it. Yeah, it's very good and very true. And the reason why America is not really fitting into these wars is because we don't have a civilization to fight for. We don't have a culture or a cultural
I know,
war.
sir, but these countries are given blank checks, and they wouldn't be fighting these wars if it wasn't for the blank
Cambodia.
Checks. Well, let's go to the ones you mentioned. Taiwan would not be agitating against China if the U.S. didn't give it a blank check. They would be willing to make negotiations and make deals. This clash wouldn't be taking place. Same thing with South Korea and North Korea.
What do you mean? This clash has been going on since before Mao.
I know. You really believe that Taiwan would be agitating against China
if
they didn't have America as a blank check to back them militarily, financially?
I didn't say that.
That's the argument that I'm making. I'm saying if you don't have this kind of agitator, this devil in the background.
What is that? That doesn't negate what I said, though. Like Kosovo, Serbia, that's an ethnic war that cannot be done without an agitator.
Yes, and my point is, if the agitator is not there, those wars don't happen.
So what?
I'm trying to say that these are not clashes of civilizations. These are agitators.
Yes, they are. Because the clashes are going to happen anyway, whether the agitator is there or not. They may not happen in the way that they're happening, but they're going to happen anyway.
But see, that's my argument, though. They wouldn't happen without the agitator. Sure it's like an enzyme.
I mean, just like Donbass in Russia, that happened without any real agitation. Those people were using guns from the Great Patriotic War.
The United States overthrew the government in 2014. That was
going on in 1990 when Donbass wanted to separate.
Would a war have happened without the overthrow of Ukraine?
Yes, 100%.
No way. So disagree with that.
Crimea and the Donbass had already held referendums for independence twice. Why wouldn't that have happened?
People are willing to put up with a lot as opposed to going to war.
Correct.
And there's no way to know whether or not. I agree it's a fault line. I don't disagree that it's a fault line. My disagreement is that they're willing to go to war over that fault line. Meaning, I may not like this, but am I willing to go and kill somebody or die for it? Those are two very different things.
I think that you're very mistaken. These people are very willing to die for this stuff. Ask a Serb if they're ready to die for a church in Kosovo. They will tell you yes. Right now, yes. Whether America's involved or not, they will put their body in front of that church. This is the same thing as these temples in Thailand and Cambodia. These temples are hundreds of years old. These don't matter.
Kosovo shouldn't exist, for one.
Agreed, but that's not the point. That's still an ethnic.
I'm saying you're not fighting over Kosovo.
Between Muslims and Christians, it's Kosovars and Serbs, Albanians and Serbs. It's still a civilizational fault line.
I guess I'm trying to point out that if you didn't have an agitator pushing the stuff like an enzyme, pushing a chemical process.
I disagree. The Balkans have been at war since the Balkans existed. Had no outside agitators. Come on, man. Tribal wars. There's no outside agitators. Come on, these Bedouins.
Tribal wars don't have any outside agitators.
These Bedouins in Syria came with that ideology. They're not being agitated into that.
I know, but during the Saud government, they were not out there killing each other in the way that they're doing now.
Okay.
I guess the argument I'm trying to make.
Not disagreeing with me. Just because somebody supplied the weapons doesn't mean that the clash isn't civilizational.
I guess I'm not talking about supplying the weapons. I'm talking about agitators. Like, for example, if you take down the Assad government, then yes, there's going to be chaos. And yes, you get the guy saying, hey, are you Druze or I'm Syrian? And he's like, I didn't ask you that. I asked you where your Druze, yes, and you shoot the guy. Like, meaning, yeah, you've uncorked the bottle in that case. But countries left to their devices can form and can come together if you didn't
you are
have
so idealistic and utopian.
I accept that. I accept it. I accept that. But it is a rule of mine that if you leave countries to their devices, they will grow, develop, they will become better. If you screw with them, they are going to be the worst versions of themselves. That is a core belief. I could be wrong in that core belief. I will read Clash of Civilizations just to hear the alternate argument. I'm telling you, though, I'm going into it, probably not going to believe it. I'm not that cynical. I strongly believe that if you leave countries to their devices, people will come together. I don't think you have this inherent need for people to be evil and mean and vicious, that people can be multiple things. They can be, we have a difficult world that we're living in which case we conform to our environment and we're horrible people in order to make our ends meet. Or you can reach a point in your civilization where our needs are met. Why are we, behaving in this way? We have modernity, and we can be better people as a result of having our needs met. Both of those things are legitimate points of view that human beings can take. We just always take the survival aspect.
Yeah, this is an argument for capitalism.
No, it's an argument for overproduction.
It's an argument. As long as you give everybody what they need, they'll be satiated and they won't bother each other.
Actually, it's an anarchist argument. It's this argument that
anarchist argument would say that there's no international law, there's no international institutions. It's every man for themselves. It's Westphalian anarchy.
No. I'm not talking about
what we're going to do soon. So
I'm not talking about this wholesale anarchy. Okay, let's go with socialist libertarian. Okay. Maybe that's a better way to put it, because that's not the argument that I'm making, and that's not the anarchist school that I'm going with. Let's say socialist libertarian, that you can have production and you can produce to a degree where people have their needs met. And that's not, people being billionaires and none of that nonsense. I don't think billionaires should exist. But you don't need billionaires to exist in order to create this kind of system that cater towards workers and cater towards the best interests of human beings. I would prefer people not have to work 40 hours a week. I would prefer if they work less. I would prefer, meaning all of these things can fit within the context of a political model. That's just not the model we have. We have a model based on survival. And in that model based on survival, people behave poorly.
These people aren't fighting for survival. They're fighting over a Buddhist temple.
They love their gods. They love their God. Okay, fair enough. Look, I am a Trekkie. I'm an ideologue on this. I accept that. I'm very idealistic.
Civilization. I'll watch Star Trek. I've never seen Star Trek.
Are you serious?
I mean, I know about it. I know the things, but I've never seen it. So now I'll go do my homework too.
I am, yes, I'm an ideologue on this stuff. And
I do believe, but it's nice to have an ideologue because I'm a little bit nihilist and black belt. So it's good. It's a good balance.
Well, I'm a nihilist now, but I think this is prehistory. I just think this is prehistory. I think at some point we will get to a point as a world where either we die together screaming, or we reach the point that I'm talking about, where
I think so too. And I think that we're more likely to go your way than the other, kicking and screaming and dying. I think we're more likely to go your way.
See, there's a idealist in you.
Well, people don't want to die, Well, the crazy tech bros do. I think they kind of want to die, but people don't want to die. But yeah, so I think it would be more likely that we go your way, of course. But there's things that need to be worked out. There's so many loose ends that need to be tied up. By a lot of it's just exactly how we started off this segment, is that it's just the West having drawn borders where they had no business drawing them, and you mentioned Kosovo shouldn't exist. It's another one. We call them little Israels. We have these little Israels everywhere: Kosovo, Taiwan, Pakistan. These just little Israels. I just didn't know Thailand was a little Israel too.
That shocked me. Shocked me.
Well, even when it came up, I said, I think that the West is on Thailand's side, but I'm not really sure. And then I looked it up and I was like, oh yeah, they're less fully just Western puppet. I had no idea.
I need to hear Brian Burlett, because Brian talks about this, where he talks about how countries.
Is he in Thailand? Still?
He is, yeah. And he talks about how countries need to control their information space, and how like it's not just Twitter or Facebook; it's also school systems, TV, media. Like it's like that. It's almost like a West philosophy gets ensconced in all of that stuff, even it's things that they're taught in schools. And by the time you grow up, you're more amenable to this kind of Western perspective, this Western take on things, that ends up affecting how your political space works. Like he gets into that stuff. Like he lives there, and so he can see it for himself. He's like, you will be shocked at the things that they say and what they consider to be quote unquote lefty or liberals. And
really,
yeah, like the direction that they tend to push in the political space, and how the king is this kind of,
well, I mean, just full stop right there. The king. Okay, that's what we're dealing
well,
with.
he says the king is a good thing, though.
What?
He says in this case, the king is a good thing.
I don't agree with monarchy.
His argument is that if you didn't have the king, what you would have is a government that is just flailing to the west, that they wouldn't have any kind of stable
his
stability.
argument is that the king kind of keeps them grounded in the Thai kind of. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. He makes
instead of democratizing, instead of kind of westernizing your government. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah,
because I would agree with you also. Like my first thought would have been like, king, what are you talking about? Get rid of that. That's
but I didn't realize that the king was what you're saying. See, I'm thinking king like Saudi, who was there to no. He's more of a bulwark against the United States than like
exactly. He's a stability factor, political stability.
Okay.
That if you got rid of that king, then they wouldn't have that level of political stability. You would have a country that would effectively have been taken over by Western interests, whereas with the king, less so. It's interesting, like to hear him talk about that stuff, but he lives there. He's far more, astute.
Cool. I didn't know that. So now I'll have to go research the king and stuff like that. I didn't know that. I just, kind of defaulted to, the West loves when they have monarchs. That's great. So much easier to bribe a king than it is to bribe an elected leader.
Yeah, I don't know how instrumental the king is in the politics, though. Like how hardcore they're in it. Oh, one of the other issues I wanted to talk to you about, Armenia. So Armenia, Azerbaijan. So there is a rumor. I'm going to call it a rumor because Armenia is pushing back on it, saying it's not true. That there's a quarter. Let me see if I can show the quarter.
Oh, Zanzibar.
Yes, just so the audience can see what we're referring to, which effectively would create very weird anomalies in Iran, Russia, and yes, it would cut Iran off from, I believe, Armenia's access to Armenia in that way.
Yeah.
Also, Armenia and Azerbaijan seemingly keeps telling Russia to F off. Like, what is going on with this? Because there were other reports that Armenia had gotten closer to Russia because of what was taking place with Azerbaijan. But
it's Pashinyan for the most part. I think Pashinyan is very locked into the West. He's an idiot. I mean, like in the literal sense of the word, he's not a smart. These aren't smart people. I don't think. I mean, we're talking here. I think we think like, oh well, they're elected president. They must be at least politically savvy. I bet analysts know more than Pashinyan knows. And I mean, we're talking about a guy who's now saying, "Oh, I want to jump back into the Eastern Bloc. And I want to be in the SCO." I think he wants to join now, which is like, you left the CSTO. What do you want? What do you want with the SCO? And he kind of wants to have his cake and eat it too. The thing about Armenia is he thinks he can play like Turkey. You're not in that sort of geographical advantageous place that Turkey is. They could take or leave you. The thing about these smaller countries is that Armenia, what makes people want to save, and this is, I don't want to offend anybody, but what makes people want to save Armenia is the Armenians. It's Armenianness. It's the ethnicity of Armenia. It's the Christianity of Armenia. It's not because of natural resources. They're in Azerbaijan. Mm-hmm. It's all ethnic. And the only people that give a crap about that are the Russians. So they've already made a huge mistake. The West does not care about your ethnic whatever struggle or your history in that region. They don't care. They want to make it easier for Israel to get their oil from Azerbaijan, and they want to make it more difficult for Iran and Russia to exist in general. So Murat, my co-host, is probably the best. He knows Azerbaijan and Armenia and Turkey inside and out, but this is not going well because of how poorly politically savvy or the political maneuvering is in Armenia. And they're getting outmaneuvered by Azerbaijan, who's backed by Israel, now Ukraine and Turkey. Right. Armenia has seriously effed itself. It's effed. I saw the same rumor you were talking about. The only reason why I knew it was a rumor was because I think they said they were going to name it like the Donald Trump corridor or the American corridor.
Yes. And they're going to sell it for 99 years. It's like 99
in the first half, not going to lie. Like, I really thought that this dude was going to give away the corridor. And I still think that's a strong possibility. You know, he's talked about like, oh, let's go into peace with Azerbaijan. And like, you know, we'll just give them the corridor. We'll give them what they want. It's really crazy. And we're talking about, you know, they used the SMO as a cover to do ethnic cleansing in Artsakh. So it's just, and it all has to do with the Israeli.
I'm sorry, nobody calls it Artsakh. It's Nagorno-Karabakh.
That's the Armenian name. I don't call it Nagorno-Karabakh.
Okay, fair enough. I just know when we said it on a radio station, it's like, what the hell is that? Nobody calls it that.
That's the accepted name. Yes, but Artsakh is the Armenian name, but. You know, and they ethnically cleanse it with Israeli weapons, Israeli and Turkish weapons. It's just, you know, it's all connected. And I feel like Armenia isn't in on the joke. Like they're like, oh, we're not. It's not connected to all of that. This is separate.
To be fair, Pashinyan was talking a lot of shit before that war, and he talked that war up as if the Russians were going to, again, blank check. We're back to the blank check thing, where he assumed that the Russians were going to somehow jump to his assistance after he had been working with trying to get closer to the West. Yeah. And Russia was like, if they cross into Armenian territory, we'll get involved. But you know, internationally, Nagorno-Karabakh is not considered Armenian territory.
Exactly. So you can't totally fault Russia. I would love for Artsakh, Nagorno-Karabakh, to be Armenian. But they're known, and even Pashinyan acknowledged that. That was Russia's issue. They were like, what do you want us to do? You're the one who acknowledged that it belongs to Azerbaijan. Now you want us to like get into a border war for you? Pashinyan has made so many mistakes. I don't know if they're irreversible or what, but they need to have a remigration campaign. Armenians need to go home, or else they're going to get wiped off the face of the earth. And they'll be talking about their little pockets of diaspora in America and Syria and Israel, and it's just a tale. It's a tale as old as time. They've been trying to destroy Armenia.
Do you think they're going to create that Trump corridor?
I will literally. I'll quit. I seriously.
What is that? You'll quit?
I'll quit this. I will quit. Like, I mean, Trump. I will not be talking about the Caucasus saying Trump corridor. I will literally walk into the ocean before I do that. Could you imagine Iran? They have like this little Trump corridor, like right up against their border.
That's what they were calling it. I mean, I'm trying to find the exact. Where's the exact article? Because they were calling it like literally the Trump something corridor.
Yeah, it's like the Trump freedom corridor.
Over Iran, and I'm like, are you seriously calling this the Trump corridor? I like, dude, are you serious right now? Like, apparently they were talking about a U.S. military contract for 99 years, in which case they may call it that if it is indeed connected to the U.S. military, because Donald Trump is an egomaniac and I wouldn't put it past him for doing it. Armenia, though, is saying, well, that's not true. But I don't know if that's not true or if they just got exposed before they were willing to let the cat out the bag.
I mean, that's been happening a lot, especially with the Trump administration. But if you look at what's been going on between Armenia and Azerbaijan within the information space, they're just throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. Like, we've got like weird, like, women coming out of the woodwork like, oh, Armenian soldiers hurt me. And then there's like weird stories coming out of Azerbaijan. It's very, the information space in the Caucasus is very poor, very poor.
But just be clear though, this is something that the United States wants.
Absolutely.
And I don't get the sense that Azerbaijan is against it.
No, Azerbaijan is for it. It's the problem is that Armenia seems indifferent to it. Well, Armenia as in terms of Pashinyan, the people, absolutely not. There have been many, many protests. Most of them, ironically, or maybe interestingly, ran by priests. So the Armenian Apostolic Orthodox Church is very much involved, and they do not want to give up this corridor. So that's a positive. And they've been largely peaceful. So that's also a positive. But yeah, it's the Armenians themselves. It just doesn't feel like they have very much political power. It's just kind of like Pashinyan negotiating over like a state.
Yeah.
It's very, very sad.
I remember when I covered that war, and I
2023
was,
September.
yeah, I was shocked by it. And the reason I was shocked by it was because I remember kept thinking to myself, like, because we had to learn a lot very fast, because none of us had heard about Nagorno-Karabakh. None of us. And we had to like literally just binge that issue for weeks to get up to date on it. And one of the things I came across was, so, all right, obviously Turkey hates Armenia, right? Azerbaijan was able to get a ton of oil money and dump that oil money into weapons and get those weapons from Turkey, Israel, etc. And I kept thinking, so where's Armenia getting its weapons from? Oh, you mean nowhere?
Yeah.
They got crushed. And Pashinyan was talking a lot of trash up to the beginning of that war, and they got crushed. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, dude, you should not have been running your mouth like that if you did not have the capability.
They really thought Russia was going to come and do it.
They really thought that after all of that time of them trying to work.
They really did. And that's the thing. It was more like, well, you don't really have a choice. And Russia was like, actually, I do, which I think was a mistake now in hindsight anyway. Russia should have just stepped in.
Why?
I do. What do you mean, why? Look at where we're at now. No, it's like that. Now the corridor is just like, it's all full of Azerbaijanis. All the Armenians are gone. You know, it's only going to take a decade or so for people to forget that it even belonged to Armenia at all, because it's going to be filled with Azeris and Turks.
It didn't belong to Armenia. I guess my issue is, okay, maybe I'm being a hard ass. I guess my thing is, if you are working with the Americans and the Europeans, how are you coming back to ask me for help?
Yeah, I don't think that Russia should have stepped in to help Armenia. But then Russia's not very big on like, we control our sphere of influence. They kind of let things play out especially with these smaller states.
Yeah.
Whereas the United States would probably step in and say, you're not going to take this corridor. You're not going to it wasn't about the ethnic cleansing. It was about the corridor. But Russia's just not like that. They really don't like to get involved like that in people's disputes.
Should they?
I don't know. I think it's a good policy not to. It was probably just me being saying, like, I wish Russia would, like, just my own wishful thinking.
No. I don't mean it specifically for this. Like, all of these were old Soviet states. Should they be more like the United States? You're right. The US would have been like, we're not letting that happen.
I think they should have a stronger sphere of influence. And I think that they're doing that now. Maybe it's too little too late, but I think that they're very hesitant to have such a like an authoritarian backyard like the United States does. They have to be careful with these previous Soviet places, unless they're full of spies and corruption now. But yeah, and they're very easy to turn against Russia. So Russia has to be careful they don't overstep their boundaries. But
cracking down
I think
on
that people
Azerbaijan
now are realizing that all of this was such a mistake. All of this, NATO, listening to the West, not breaking up the Soviet Union. I mean, I don't care either way. I'm not a Soviet person, but all of this is just Kosovo, Taiwan. It's all just a mess. The border in Thailand, Cambodia, the border of Syria. It's all Sykes-Picot. It's all just coming back to haunt us. It's all just terrible.
But if they knew that it was a mess, would they be engaged in these fights? Does it make sense? Like, meaning, if I'm aware that all of these things were mistakes, listening to the West on this stuff, am I really, and maybe that's a good question. I mean, you're in the situation you're in. You deal with the situation that you deal with, however you got to that particular point. So, yeah. One of the other things I wanted to hit you with, though, was, and this, what time is it? Shit. Not greater Israel. The axis of, I don't know what to call it. It's not the axis of resistance, but it's the axis that Israel has created to contain Iran. Axis of evil, thank you.
Are you talking about the Azerbaijan one?
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
Because because if that corridor took place, one of the biggest countries that would be screwed over is Iran.
Oh, 100%. They'd be done. I've been noticing that axis forming too, and I'd even start to include Ukraine. Now that the overtures, Aliyev is making a lot of overtures to Ukraine. Remember, yes. I'm pretty confident saying that both the terrorist attack in Ukraine or Russia, and the terrorist attack in Iran were done with Azeri coordination, Azerbaijani coordination, if not full-on participation. So, I mean, we're comfortable with that. So now we really have an axis forming. I think it's good in the sense that it lets us know who our enemies are. I'm tired of this Russia tiptoeing through the tulips with Israel. They're not your friend. They're never going to be your friend. They don't care if they're all Russian inside of there. They're Jews first. They're Israelis first. They don't even acknowledge their Russianness. So I think this is good. It's also good to understand where you stand with Turkey at a given moment, because it could change from day to day. But here you understand where you stand. Yes. Russia needs to figure out what they're going to do actually in the Caucasus, because Georgia doesn't have really that much interest in really working with Russia. They're fine with Russia. They're good relations, but they don't want to enter into any sort of alliance. Pashinyan does not like Russia. He and Lukashenko do not get along. And Aliyev is always slimy and always willing to work with anybody who's going to grease his palms. It's a very difficult area to get a foothold in, because these people are not to be trusted, except the Georgians, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the Georgians had to defend their democracy from.
Don't forget, Israel wants Azerbaijan in the Abraham Accords, and Azerbaijan has reacted to that positively. So that could really isolate Iran. It's this kind of tenfold thing. Okay, let's get the corridor. Let's get Armenia sort of on their back foot. Okay, let's get them some weapons. Okay, let's establish the oil fields. It's like it's incrementalism. And eventually it's like, well, you can't fight us here anyway. We have everything. So.
Well, that's what it seems like is happening.
Exactly.
Instead of, as the axis of resistance.
They take out the people that used to live there. They fill it with new people. Now it doesn't, it's very incremental. It's very incremental. And, you'll see sort of, it's interesting because I don't know if people don't really watch very closely what Russia bombs because they bomb so often.
Yes.
But they've started hitting the cars of rabbis.
Uh-huh.
They've started to hit the oil depots that refine the oil for Azerbaijan, which goes to Israel. They've started tagging a lot of this stuff just to send a message. I mean, they hit the Azerbaijani consulate in Kiev.
Yep. And locking up many Azerbaijanis.
Yeah.
So, is it because these people were working against Russian interests?
Yeah, they were working for NGOs. Turkish, British NGOs, yeah.
Okay, because I thought they were part of the mob. Or maybe these things were both the same thing. Same thing. Fair enough.
Nice Venn diagram overlap.
So the thought was that
they were in charge of this NGO it was called like the Ural Caucasus NGO, something about nationalism in the Caucasus and the Ural Mountains, these sort of tribal groups, and the Ukrainians that say, from all the way to the Urals. That's kind of that nationalistic sort of ethnic thing. So it was that sort of NGO. So it definitely had nationalistic ties back to the home countries for sure. Yeah. And they were known. One of the guys was known as like a really big mobster, even in Azerbaijan.
So, okay. So is the reason that Azerbaijan is pissed off is because Russia has started to go after some of these people and some of these groups, especially that mobster?
No, I think that the chicken came before the egg. I think that this is Russia using them to kind of stoke the fire. I think that Russia understands the axis that's forming, especially after the Iran attack. There was a reaction to that. Lavrov reacted to that. They also have that point of contention with the plane that went down. Yes. I've looked at it, and obviously I'm biased towards Russia. I can't really conclusively say that Russia did it, but the whole thing is very suspicious. Russia's still investigating that. Aliyev uses that to kind of as a cudgel over Russia not obeying international law. They're opening up a case in the International Criminal Court about it. So, I mean, this is all sort of not death by a thousand cuts, but it's like I poke you, you poke me, I poke you, you poke me. Eventually it'll probably come to a head.
This is a really big deal, though. I mean, these were Soviet, and I'll let you go, but these were Soviet states. I mean, the idea that Russia is losing, I don't know. If for some reason this feels.
I agree. You look at the Baltics and you're like, well, you're never going to get them back.
Right.
You have to kind of hold on to what you can have. You need a Eurasian coalition. You need some sort of Eurasian, at least loose knit, like quilt laid over it. I agree. They need to up their sphere of influence, make it more ironclad, and get more involved in their backyard. I understand that they're stretched thin resource wise, but you're over there effing around in Libya and Syria. So I think they need to get more involved in what's going on, especially on their southern border and in the Far East.
How would they do that, though, at this point? I mean, Armenia is pissed off because they believe that Russia could have jumped in to protect it from Azerbaijan.
Overthrow Pashinyan. No, I'm just kidding. Don't overthrow anybody, please. No more coups.
Actually, that's what it means.
We thought that the religious movements might get almost to that point. The priests were very serious.
I mean, but that's what it means to be involved in your backyard. The United States, when it had kill squads.
Means overthrowing, yeah.
Sarah, I always appreciate these conversations. Thank you very much. You inform me on this stuff, especially in this part of the world, because where sometimes I get confused.
There we go. Look, I can do this thing. There we go. Right? Isn't that it? Live long and prosper.
Wait, said it? Live long and prosper.
That's Star Trek. Live long and prosper.
Oh, yeah, that's Spock. Yeah, that's Spock. Live long. Are you seriously going to watch? Look, if you're going to watch the one that you may gravitate more towards. See, people like me who've watched all of them, with the exception of Discovery sucks. If you ask anybody who's an old Trekkie, like from the very beginning, they will give you an impression of the next generation Star Trek. That is usually what is in their minds when they think about Star Trek, because they would say, we're not a military organization, we're a part of exploration, the military is very little of what we do. Okay, but it didn't end up that way. Because they weren't a military organization, when they actually had to fight.
Wasn't Star Trek about like a utopian socialist society out in space? No wonder why you have such a rosy outlook.
Well, they did have that utopia for a good, let's say maybe 100 years, give or take. And then Star Trek started to deal with reality.
Okay.
Meaning, like, you can be this kind of living life if your technology is, 100 years above the other races. You have these huge ships that are very bright in color and everything else. And then you meet the Borg, and the Borg kills like 200 of your ships with one cube. And you're like, okay, we need to do something different. And then you meet the Dominion, and you end up in a full-blown war where billions are lost in the war for the entirety of the sector. Like, you're the character of the organization changes over the course of the series, because it has to, just because you started saying, what does it look like when these fantastic human beings who have all of their needs met are put up against people who are not that fantastic, who are willing to do, cut steel and everything else. There was one of the episodes where Picard, one of the main captains, get tortured. That is a hard episode to watch. But they got darker, especially when they got into a full-blown war. But you understood why they got into the war. It wasn't just in Deep Space Nine, oh my God, you're at war. It was, you are edging around borders. It became a border issue. And in Star Trek, they're like, hey man, you can't tell us where to go. Okay. Is that true? That wasn't true. Like, it was, Deep Space Nine is probably the best of the series. Next Generation is probably the one that people remember the most in regards to if they think of the character of Star Trek. So one leads into the other. I don't know which one you want to start with first, but it's a fantastic series. It's a fantastic series. You're going to look at this and you're going to be very cynical looking at it. You'll be like, oh, these people have lost their effing minds. Especially in the first one. You're going to be like, these people are in a cult. What's wrong with these people? By the time you get to Deep Space Nine, it becomes like, okay, that makes more sense. Cisco's acting more sense, because at that point, they're getting closer and closer to war. And how does perfect human beings act when they get closer to war? Like every other human being acts when they're in a war. So, Sarah, and the Clash of Nations.
Civilization. Close enough.
Clash of Civilizations. Okay.
It should be free online. Or just ask ChatGPT to give you the too long don't read.
Too long don't read?
Yeah, tell her to give you a summary of Clash of Civilizations.
No, I'm going to read it.
Yeah, it's really great. I just reread it like a month ago, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad I reread this right now.
No. If you are going to subject yourself to Star Trek.
Okay. This is
and again, it's watching it when you're a kid and watching it when you're an adult, especially when you get into politics, are very different animals. It becomes very political in many of the episodes, but they are a bit. Well, the conversation we had earlier today. If you leave people alone, they're going to be better people. They're going to be great people.
I'm the opposite. I think if you leave people alone, they're going to turn into like Lord of the Flies.
Was a Rick and Morty episode where they're like, we're going to liberate these people. Like, and it was like people started taking off their shirts. It was like, well, I have nips and I don't have nips. And then one group that had nips started. It's like, dude, just because you let people be free, don't mean they're going to make the right choices, right? Sarah,
flip that part of you going, I have nips and I don't have nips. Just you.
It was an episode where the guys were taking off their shirts. It's like they liberated this country or this world. And after they liberated the world, it was an alien species that had dominated the entire planet by mind control. And the moment they took off the mind control, one guy rips his shirt off. He's like, I don't have nips. And another guy rips his shirt off. Like, I do have nips.
Just you saying it that makes it so. I don't have nips.
It's funny as all hell. It's funny as all hell. Sarah, you are fantastic. Thank you for this, Sarah Bils, former U.S. Navy veteran and current editor for DD Geopolitics. Have a good one, okay? All right, we have come to the end. I always enjoy talking to Sarah. I realize I don't do well interviewing Sarah. So it's better to have a conversation with Sarah. That's where it turns out better. She's cool people, man. She's cool people. I like talking.